Mad with anger, King Samarsen was staring at his delicate princess who was daring to oppose him. Just then the minister whispered in his ear,
What are you thinking, Your Majesty? Send that wicked woodcutter and your useless daughter to the desert of death. Seeing such insolence, Princess Nayantara and that wicked woodcutter Devnath are hereby banished at once to the cremation land, the desert of death.
Hearing the name of the desert of death, fear spread across the faces of everyone present there.
Desert of death? Everyone knows no one can ever return from there alive.
About 6 months earlier, in the royal court of King Samarsen of Sengarh,
Minister, yes, Your Majesty. Have you informed all the traders of the city about the increased tax? Yes, Your Majesty, but some traders have opposed it. They say that in other states the tax on their goods is only 10%, while in our state it is 50%. How long can such injustice be tolerated? Didn't you tell them that this tax is fixed for the maintenance of the king and the development of the state? If the king receives more tax, he will have greater security and comforts, and then he will be able to do better work for the welfare of the state. Yes, Your Majesty. However, today some citizens who could not pay the tax and a few other criminals of the state are to be presented before you. I shall bring them in front of you so you may deliver justice. Present them in front of me.
first, 2 thin and weak traders wearing dhotis and chained in shackles were brought in.
These are 2 trader brothers, Jitram and Mitram. Your Majesty had ordered their lands and house to be mortgaged because they failed to pay the trade tax. But even after taking everything, 1/3 of their tax is still unpaid.
Have mercy, Maharaj. Because of last year's recession, I have already lost everything. That is why I could not pay the tax. As soon as I start a new business, I will clear the dues.
There is no provision for mercy in our state. Whatever tax is imposed must be paid. Minister? Yes, Your Majesty. Put them in prison and make them work in the royal palace, grinding wheat, extracting oil, cleaning the stables and such tasks. Until this year's tax is fully paid, they will receive no mercy. Take them away and bring the next criminal.
Jitram and Mitram kept begging, but no one listened to them. Then came the turn of cunning landlord of the state.
Your Majesty, the next criminal is landlord Amar Singh. He is accused of seizing the lands of poor farmers, charging excessive interest on loans and beating people. The complaint has been filed by an old poor woman, Jamuna Devi.
Maharaj, I had borrowed only 10 silver coins from landlord Amar Singh for my orphan granddaughter's wedding. In return, this cruel man took away my ancestral land, my house, everything. Give me justice, Maharaj. Give me justice. Before Samarsen could think, the minister softly whispered in his ear,
Your Majesty, this landlord Amar Singh pays double tax to the state and also presents you with valuable gifts from time to time. So please think carefully before delivering justice. Jamuna Devi, Amar Singh did no wrong by lending you money in your bad times. If it was his condition that in case of non-payment he would take everything, then it is his right. And as for now, you have no one left in this world. What will you even do with that property now? If you wish, you may serve in our palace as a maid for the rest of your life and in return receive food and clothes. I think this would be the best justice for everyone.
Hearing such cruel justice, Jamuni Devi left in tears. Behind her, Amar Singh began shouting praises of King Samarsen.
Maharaj Samarsen, long live! Maharaj Samarsen, long live!
In the evening, a poor woodcutter named Devnath, who lived in the estate, was carrying wood to the royal palace. After reaching the market and placing down his bundle, he sat to rest. Just then, he overheard people talking.
Hey, did you hear about our king's justice today?
Don't call it justice, brother. It is pure injustice.
May God never give such a sinful king to any state. You are right, brother. There are no jobs in the state. no good education, and no proper healthcare system. Everywhere there is crime and bribery. That's not all. Look at how dirty the city has become. The king has no concern for his people. Pay double tax on time so that the king can invite other rulers and enjoy grand feasts and luxuries in the palace. Nothing here has a fair price. Just look at our Devnath. Poor man works honestly all day in the hot sun cutting wood. In other states, this wood is worth more than 5 coins, but our king gives him only 2 coins. How do you survive on so little, Devnath? Why didn't you secretly sell your goods in another state like we do? No, brothers, I cannot be dishonest. You all know that the true giver is God. He keeps us happy in whatever way He wishes. If only 2 coins are written in my fate for this wood, I accept it. But giving up honesty is something I will never accept.
Saying this, Devnath lifted his bundle of wood and walked away. Meanwhile, as soon as Devnath reached the royal palace, Samar Sen noticed him and called him near.
Come, my honest Devnath. How much wood did you cut today? Your Majesty, 4 full bundles. Very good. Here is your earning for today. There is no one in my state more honest and truthful than you, Devnath. I proudly tell stories of your honesty even in the royal court. That is your greatness, Your Majesty. I only follow the values given to me by my late parents. Anyway, I have called you for an important task. Please give your order, Your Majesty. Today, my only daughter, Princess Nayantara, has invited princesses from another state for a royal feast. You must handle all the arrangements. In return, I will give you 1 extra coin. Will you do it?
The payment was very little for such royal management, but Devnath accepted the task happily, considering it his responsibility.
Listen, Deva. The entire event will be held in the palace garden. You must decorate the garden beautifully, and the food must be delicious. Everything should be ready before evening. No mismanagements. Understood? Yes, Minister, sir. It will be done.
Devnath worked tirelessly the whole day. By evening, he had decorated the garden so beautifully with his creativity that everyone was left amazed. In the evening, when Nayantara and the other princesses saw the beautifully decorated garden, they said, "Wow, Nayantara, I have never seen such a beautiful garden in my life. These lights, this canopy decorated with fabrics, these statues that look as if they will speak any moment, and these lovely fountains, they are wonderful. Nayantara, call the craftsman who decorated this garden. We would like to reward him ourselves." Devnath was called. As soon as he arrived, the princesses said, "Oh, talented man, there is magic in your hands. You have added charm to the entire arrangement." Saying this, the princess held out a palm full of gold coins towards Devnath. Joining his hands respectfully, Devnath said,
Princess, the respect you have given to my art is my true reward. Besides, you are guest in our state. It is not right for me to take payment for serving guests. I have already received my wages from the king for this decoration. Please enjoy yourselves now and allow me to take your leave.
Saying this, Devnath walked away. Nayantara kept looking at him. The next day, sitting in her chamber and gazing at the moon, Nayantara was talking to herself. "Oh, beloved, I cannot remove you from my thoughts. Just as the chakor bird is devoted to the moon for lifetimes, I too am devoted to you. Oh Devnath, seeing your honesty, kindness, creativity and grace, I have surrendered my heart. I belong to you, Devnath." Now, whenever Devnath came to the palace, Nayantara would find some excuse to go near him. Months passed. Then one day, as Devnath was leaving, Nayantara stopped his path and said, "Enough now. Can you not see my pure love? If you reject my love, my lord, I will consume poison and end my life."
Princess, I understand that you love me, but you are a princess and I am a poor woodcutter. How can there be any match between us?
Just then, the minister, who had been secretly listening, stepped forward and said,
I always suspected that you cheap woodcutter would one day show your true colors. I had already informed the king about the secret meeting. And today you are caught red-handed. Now come with me, you traitor.
The minister pushed Devnath and brought him before Samar Sen and said,
My doubt was right, Maharaj. He truly wanted to trap the princess with his sweet words and take advantage of her.
This is false, father. He never trapped me with his words. I love him by my own will and wish to marry him.
This cunning woodcutter has surely controlled my daughter. Give him 100 lashes and then put him in hard labor imprisonment for an indefinite time.
Devnath was mercilessly whipped and then dragged away and thrown into prison. Many months passed. Devnath was kept hungry and thirsty in prison and forced to work under harsh torture. In the jail, Devnath is not given proper food or water. He is whipped and made to work in place of an ox at the oil mill. He has grown weak and his beard and hair have grown long. Seeing such cruelty, Princess Nayantara finally rebelled against her own father. Nayantara storms into the royal court in front of the full assembly, crying in anger. She points a sword at her father and threatens him. Do not forget, father, the blood of a warrior also runs in my veins. If you do not free my beloved today, this Nayantara will not hesitate to cause destruction. Samar Sen was shocked and could not think of a solution. Then the minister softly whispered in his ear,
Do not forget, Maharaj. Chanakya has said that a child who turns foolish and begins harms the state should not be shown any mercy. So, if you wish to protect yourself and your kingdom, exile the princess along with that woodcutter to the desert of death. Yes, and let's sleep over this matter as soon as possible.
At first, Samar Sen hesitated, but under the minister's pressure, he finally gave the order.
Seeing such disobedience, Princess Nayantara and the wicked woodcutter Devnath are immediately exiled to the cremation land, the desert of death.
Hearing the name of the desert of death, fear spread across every face present there, because everyone knew that no one had ever returned alive from that place. After the exile, Nayantara and Devnath were walking on foot in the burning desert. They had come very far. My beloved, I cannot walk any further. I feel we will die here. Water.
If this is written in our fate, princess, then so be it. After all, who can change destiny?
Finally, both of them felt dizzy and fell to the ground. Just then, Devnath found a golden-colored bag buried in the sand. Something was inside it.
Princess, there is something in this bag. Amazing. But this is vessel filled with cold water.
Every time Devnath put his hand into the bag, a vessel of water came out. They both drank water to their fill. Then, look, my lord, is there something to eat inside it as well? As soon as Devnath put his hand into the bag again, royal dishes began to come out. They ate to their heart's content. Nayantara said, Oh, my beloved, this magical bag has been given to us by God as a blessing. Why don't we build our own kingdom in this desert with its help?
No, Nayantara. This desert of death also comes under the boundaries of Samargarh, and the king of this region is still our king Samar Sen. Any wealth found within the kingdom belongs only to the king. We must hand over this back to him.
Hearing such words, Nayantara became emotional and said, You are truly blessed, my beloved. Such honesty is rare to see. I feel proud that I choose you as my life partner. Both of them smiled and started walking back toward their kingdom. Meanwhile, in the evening, Samar Sen was pacing anxiously in his chamber. He deeply regretted his decision. Just then, Nayantara entered with Devnath. Seeing her, Samar Sen hugged Nayantara and began to cry.
Forgive me, my dear daughter. I was misled by that cunning minister. I deeply regret what I did to my people, to you, and to Devnath.
It is all right, father. If someone who loses his way in the morning returns home by evening, he is not called lost. For now, see what gift my beloved and I have brought for you.
Maharaj, we only came to give you this gift. After that, we were ready to return again to the desert of death.
Then Nayantara narrated the entire story of the magical bag and Devnath's honesty to Samar Sen. After hearing everything, Samar Sen placed his daughter's hand into Devnath's hand and said,
Devnath, you are truly blessed. Long ago, an astrologer told me that whichever young man finds the rarest and most precious thing in your kingdom, you must marry your daughter to him. Therefore, I have decided to give my daughter's hand and the responsibility of this kingdom to you. I will leave for a pilgrimage. I have also expelled that cunning minister and the flattering courtiers. From today, this kingdom is yours.
The next day, King Samar Sen arranged the grand wedding of Devnath and Nayantara with music and celebration. After a few days, he left for his pilgrimage. One night, when Devnath and Nayantara tried to safely keep the magical bag, it suddenly disappeared and a prophecy was heard.
Hey, honest man, pleased with your honesty, nature had given you this magical bag as a blessing for difficult times. But it was only for a short while. The true magical power lies in your honesty and kindness. Preserve them forever.
Devnath and Nayantara bowed to the divine voice and smiled at each other.